Hello, everybody out there in YouTube land and the internet land. Jeff Cross here with Mr. Nick LaCicero. Can you say hello, Nick?
Hey Jeff, how you doing?
Good to see you. Hey, thanks for taking just a few minutes out of your evening or your day, the weekend, and talking about a few things. I do appreciate that. Before we get started here, I'm going to just, first of all, anybody out there watching, we need you to follow Jeff Cross on YouTube so you can get notifications on when we post something. If you have any questions, you can email me at jeffcross22@gmail.com. And then, Nick, if they have any questions for you, they can email you where?
Sure. My email is nlocicero, which is LOCICERO, the number 31@gmail.com.
Perfect. And if you have any problem getting a hold of Nick or whatever it is, you can also just email me. I will make sure that question goes to him, and hopefully we can get it all taken care of. So today we're going to talk to Nick, and we're going to talk about a few things. But first, Nick, just tell us, give us a little bit of background on your professional career and then your officiating career.
Sure. So I currently am a human resource manager for a company in Franklin, Wisconsin. We make medical devices. I've been working for them for the last 3 years. I've been in HR for about 17, 18 years. Worked for a couple other medical device and a manufacturing company before that. And actually, when I first, before that, I was actually in the restaurant business. I was a restaurant manager for about 15 years, working for McDonald's Corporation. So.
Well, if you can be a restaurant manager, you can definitely be a referee. That's for sure.
Hey, there's a lot of things that you see, working as a restaurant manager that, ends up happening out on the court too. We get a lot of weird things that can come our way, and in HR in particular too. A lot of people situations that occur that, so the things that we see out on the court, pretty routine.
That's right. So, okay, human resources for the past 3 or 4 years. What about your officiating career?
Yeah, so I've been officiating. This is actually my 35th year of officiating.
Awesome. Very cool.
Started officiating when I was actually a senior in college. A college roommate of mine said, hey, let's do some intramural basketball. I was at the University of Wisconsin. And he said, we could maybe pick up some grade school games. And I said, you know what, officiating, that's not for me. I used to coach youth basketball when I was in high school and actually my first year in college. I said, I hate officials. They're just horrible, And he goes, but Nick, we get paid for it, first of all, and it's good beer money. And I was like, okay, all right. So, so that's kind of how my officiating career started. And for some of the officials that maybe are in the Wisconsin area that know who Dave Kelleher is, I don't know if you know that name, Jeff, or not. But he's been a men's official college. Anyways, they used to at the city of Madison used to have a training process that you would go through. You would actually officiate some rec ball games, and they had you go through classroom work and all that kind of stuff. So that's how I really started my officiating career.
And so you 35 years, you're in the 35th year. And how long have you been refereeing collegiately?
This is my 16th season.
Okay.
Collegiate basketball.
Very awesome. Postseason experience?
Yeah, on the collegiate side, I've worked 6 NCAA tournament games. Had a game last year at Wash U. Worked numerous conference tournament games, a couple conference championship games in the NAC. I work kind of all the D3 conferences in the Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Chicagoland area. So the WEAC, the NAC, the Midwest. Work for Randy, work for Al, work some JUCO ball for Don Baumgart. Have had a lot of experience working a number of different games.
So very clear that, you got 35 years experience, 16 years in collegiate experience, and you've had, great success in the postseason. So saying all that, here's a couple questions I have for you. First question is, when you first started, not necessarily, the rec ball scenario. So when you first started and you said, okay, I'm going to referee, I'm going to pay attention to my shoes and make sure I have decent pants on and a decent shirt when you said, okay, in that part of your career, early in your high school officiating career, what would you say was, maybe 2 or 3 of your weaknesses? And on those weaknesses, how did you get past them?
Sure. So I think probably the top three weaknesses that I had was really getting the opportunity to work games that were, you mentioned I rec ball to start with. So once I started working high school ball, it was really kind of getting used to all the different, I guess the best way to put it would be idiosyncrasies of the game, some of the things that we have to do as officials. Um, sometimes you would forget certain rules. And so I had to really get into the rule book and kind of understand, the different things that happen. I worked with a veteran official, was 2-person at the time when I first started working high school basketball. And part of the thing working with that veteran official is he knew a lot of the rules. He knew a lot of things that were going on. So a lot of times I would just kind of rely on him. So I really needed to get myself into the rule book and understand the rules. Second thing was really kind of working with coaches. And I think, again, you asked me what my professional life has been like. And, I've worked with people my whole life, but really kind of understanding that the coaches really are not there to, they may antagonize you a little bit about certain plays and calls and that type of thing, but really they just want to understand what you saw. And so I had a difficult time at the beginning of my officiating career on how to approach coaches, because sometimes it was, they would start saying things to you, that's a travel, you missed a travel down there. We're not getting the same calls that the other team's getting. And, a lot of times I would just get really upset with the with the coaches. And, sometimes it would be technical foul after technical foul way too quick,
Mm-hmm.
So I had to learn some patience. And the guy that I worked with, again, veteran official, he was, he told me, he said, Nick, you got to use that patience, use those listening skills that you have working as a manager and working in HR out on the court. And, that was some really good advice, because I think a lot of times early in my career, I would let things, get those rabbit ears, so to speak, right? And
Sure. Oh, yeah.
you hear it from the fans, you hear it from the players, you hear it from the coaches, and that would upset my game. And it was really, it took a little while to kind of get that.
Just out of curiosity, is it the same person that helps you with the rules that also helped you with your patients?
He was, yeah. So I worked with a gentleman by the name of Ed Mighton. So Ed Mighton and I worked together, high school basketball. That's how I first started, probably for about 6 or 7 years. And so Ed was actually working college ball. This is back a while back before Don actually and Randy in the NAC. Well, it was then called the Lake Michigan Conference. He worked for Dennis Sump. And so he had a lot of experience, working collegiate women's college basketball as well as high school. And, he was the one that definitely said, hey, we got to do this. This is how you're going to grow as an official.
Answer me this. Do you think the fact that you became more comfortable with the rules helped you to be a better communicator and have better patience with the coach because you were more knowledgeable in the rules?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think there's no doubt that I had some, I'll be honest, the rule book to me was, well, I understand the game. I know where I got to be for position. I need to go here. I need to go there. I need to get good angles. I need to hustle, those types of things. And I think, when I first started officiating, that was just one of those things that, okay, yeah, we got to take the test every year, high school federation test and that. And, you'd look things up and, la-di-da. But bottom line was you really got to spend the time in the book and try to understand things, and I think it's never ending.
Yeah, very much so, because the rules change constantly. In NCAA, they change every 2 years. In high school, I don't know how that works, but they're always changing on us. And the better grip we have on those rules, I believe, the better grip we have on those rules, the better chance we have at, being able to administer those rules. And when we administer those rules, we can explain them. I've always liked to say that, we as communicators, we need to understand that it's not our job. If we can just keep in our head that we are just the one relaying the message of the rule book.
Yeah.
That's all we're doing. We don't need to put emotion into how we're administering the rules. We're just the one. The rule book was given to us. We're the ones supposed to be relaying those message to the coach and enforcing those rules. We don't have anything invested in the rules. We're just been paid to do that job. And I find anyway, when I communicate with coaches, I'm just relaying the rule to you. That's all I'm trying to do. I don't want to attach emotion to it. And I think that the best way for me to do that is not attach emotion to it, so a coach won't attach emotion to how they're going to respond.
Yeah.
So that's I think those are great points. And so as we go forward, and now we have this one person who's helped you with your rules,
Yep.
help you as you got better with rules, helped you with your patience. You got better with patience. Was there any one, I'm going to call it aha moment, like, okay, I get it now? Was there anything like that?
Yeah, we had, I think probably the first tournament game that I ever worked in on a high school level, had a real good game, had a situation occur where, I don't remember all the specifics, but it was one of those situations where towards the end of the game, we got together as a crew, the two of us talked about it, explained it to the coaches, and both the coaches, it was one of those where we needed to talk to both the coaches. They, got together with us. We explained them the situation, and literally, it was kind of one of those scenarios where they looked at us and they're like, oh yeah, I guess if that's what you're saying the rule book says, then that's what we have to go with,
Mm-hmm.
And so that was the aha moment, I think, for me.
It's weird once you have that aha moment, the confidence that you have. So now when we have that confidence, we walk differently, we talk differently, we run differently, now we're communicating differently. All those things happen as soon as we get to that aha moment, whenever that is. So I think that's a great story. So all right, so here we are. We're on to our NCAA career.
Yep.
And you said 16 seasons in the NCAA basketball with multiple NCAA appearances in the Division III level and multiple conference tournaments.
Right.
We all still have weaknesses. What do you think 2 or 3 of your weaknesses are now?
Yeah, I think probably my biggest weakness right now is, I think with the way that the rules change all the time, we need to keep ourselves in the rule book, and we need to make sure that we are, we're applying the rule the right way. So I'll just give you an example. So we had last night we had a scrimmage, and no, I'm sorry, it was on Wednesday actually. So Wednesday night a scrimmage, and we had a situation early in the second half where we had a flagrant one, and so now the coach wanted to remove the player, and right after, so I call the flagrant. We go report it. We're going to line up and shoot the free throws, and as the play was going on, the coach wanted to bring in sub to replace the player that had done it, to her credit. And so as that girl's sitting at the table, I'm thinking to myself, okay, can she come in, or should we wait till in between, on the second one, or, between the first and second? And so I hesitated, and we stopped, and we didn't allow her in. She shot. And so then after it was over, we went to the rule book afterwards, and we're like, okay, wait a minute. Did we apply that right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was a scenario where we didn't, because the player should have been able to come in before the first free throw. So I think it's when we have kind of those unique situations that occur, just like the one I just mentioned there, where your gut tells you, okay, if I don't know the rule verbatim, what should I do? And my gut at first, when it happened, and my crew, neither of my partners said anything at the time, but after it was over, we talked about it in the locker room. But my gut was, okay, I need to bring that person in on the second of the 2 free throws in between. And then I thought, wait a minute, that's not right. So, we went and we looked it up. So I think it's still situations like that, Jeff, that sometimes when you don't have a situation occur very often. I mean, how often do we have a flagrant one, right? I mean, hopefully not too many times during the season.
Mm-hmm.
But secondly, to the coach's credit, they were bringing in the sub right away. So that was great. But then you kind of react and you think about, well, okay, what would I do in a normal situation? And this is not that normal situation. So that's one of my areas that I still need to work on and still remember and kind of think and maybe even talk to my partners before it happens. I mean, I could have easily blown the whistle and gone to one of my partners and say, hey, wait a minute, we got a sub here at the table. What should we do? What do you guys think by rule that we need to do?
Yeah, and it's interesting because I call those I call them atypical situations.
Yeah.
Something the better we get at atypical, when we get really good at atypical, guess what? That becomes typical to us now.
Right.
You know what I mean? So now it needs to be really atypical for us to have a problem with it. So the better we get at those, and it's with it always changing, because that scenario you're talking about, I don't want to misquote, but I believe it changed probably 2 or 3 years ago.
We said that in the locker room after. So
Mm-hmm.
after the game, we're talking about the play. And as we looked in the book, and I mean, we all know that every year that we have the rule changes, everything's highlighted. So it wasn't highlighted in the book. And so we're like, man, when did that change? I think it happened, maybe a couple years ago. We just couldn't remember for sure.
Right.
And it wasn't highlighted in the rule book. So we knew it wasn't part of this new, changes in the rule book. So, but we all agreed that it had happened at some point in time recently.
Yeah.
Again, like you say, atypical is just one of those scenarios where we just, I know I froze for sure. And as my partners talked about it after the game in the locker room, we just pulled the rule book out and we started looking it up. So that was a great thing.
So here we are. We got to, you're saying I want to be, more proficient at atypical situations and not let them be as atypical for me. So you got a plan of attack? How do you think you can improve on those things?
Yeah, I think just, the big thing is when the actual play or that situation occurs, if I don't know the answer, which, I'm not saying that I'm a rules guru by any stretch of the imagination. I think, there's a lot of officials that I work with that are a lot better than I am with rules. But when it comes to that situation, is if you think it's not right, let's stop play and let's get together with one or both of our partners and talk about it. If we don't want to make it be elongated, the discussion, but enough that if it's an atypical play, maybe my partner or one of my partners have had that situation occur in a game already. And now they can give, their 2 cents or whatever to say, hey, this is what we need to do, or this is what happened one other time when I worked, and now we get it right.
Yeah. And for me, I'm not a rules guru by any means, or I'm excellent at atypical situations. But some of the things that help me in atypical situations, or to get through those or be more proficient at them, is I like the what if plays. I just really like to what if them. Because if I what if them enough, they'll become very atypical. And then, maybe I'll have enough rules knowledge there to be able to get us through that to where we can handle it smoothly. Now, I'm guessing in your situation, whether you kept her in or let her come in or kept her out, whatever it was, it probably went pretty unnoticed.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's that atypical situation where, who should be shooting, or, that person should be shooting. And we've had two indirect technical fouls against the coach and one direct, those kind of atypical situations where it comes to the fact of points and coaches staying in games and things like that. That's where we really need to be proficient at. But we need to start in your scenario. We need to start there where, okay, I've been here. And what the best thing I've heard from you is, even if you were to get better at that, is I got to ask my partner. Sometimes, even if you would have just yelled, hey, Bill, can this girl come in? Yep. Okay, cool. We're done. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Whatever it is, or nope, or whatever it is, just enough to give you a little bit of a teeter one way or another. Because it sounds to me like at your point, you were like, well, I don't even know. So if anybody was to tell me yes or no, I'd probably go with it. Right.
Yeah, right. I mean, like I say, I had a feeling, and I mean, I know, what we normally do in regular typical situations, right? They only, can come in. Although then as I was thinking about it, as the girl's shooting the first free throw, and I'm thinking, well, did I do this right or not? Then I started thinking, okay, well, what would I have done if there was a technical foul instead of a flagrant?
Very good. Love it.
And so, so you start playing out that scenario like you're talking about.
Yeah.
And we even talked about that today in our pregame for before the scrimmage that I worked today. We talked about this play, and then we talked about, okay, well, what if we have a technical foul today, in the scrimmage? We're hoping we don't, but let's say we do, right? Mm-hmm. And so, okay, what if, like you were just saying, we have players at the table that want to come in. Are we going to allow them to come in? Are we going to allow, a person to shoot the first technical and a second person to shoot the second technical? And so, you get into those scenarios. And I think as we get, for myself, with games that we've worked, a number of games that we work, I'm not saying that we all, do all the right things every game, but sometimes it's talking about those, like you say, atypical situations that can help you. Because when it happens in the game, then all of a sudden you're like, wow, I'm glad we had that discussion in the pregame,
And one of the, we talk about aha moments. I remember in one of my aha moments in a situation where I wasn't very knowledgeable in this part of the rule. And that was, we had a delay for reaching across the boundary line.
Okay.
Okay. So we had issued a team warning delay. Okay. Yeah. And we went on and we had a timeout, whatever it was, and we got together. It doesn't make a difference where we're at in the game, but I had asked the question. So if it happens again, we know it's a technical foul, but I need to know, is it administration? Is it, is it a bench? Is it a player substitute? Yeah. Well, I asked that question. Now at the point where, we had one person go administration, one person say personal, whatever it was, we were all over the place. But I did the same thing you did. Get to the locker room, look it up, find out what the rule is. I cannot stress this enough, Nick. That is probably something that if everybody would do what you do and go in the locker room and figure it out, they would be so much better at their rules knowledge. We can't, as you say, when you started in your very early in your career, you relied on this one person, your mentor, to help you through all the rules. Well, I got news for you. You're going to be on the floor, and your mentor is going to be on the floor somewhere else.
Yep.
And he's not going to be able to help you. You're going to have to fend for yourself. So nothing wrong with leaning on that person or reaching out to them. But step number one is get in your own rule book and figure that out. So I think that's awesome. I think that's if people would continue to do as you do, they're going to see success just like you have. So
yeah, and I think the other thing too, for a person like myself that's been officiating as long as I have, to be able to do those things with some of the newer officials, people that maybe don't have as much experience or have only been working in different leagues for a couple of years. These are great teaching points to discuss in pre-games beforehand. So, hey, this is what happened to me the other night. What do you think? What's your thoughts on this? And I think, so we had that happen. Like I said, we had that happen one night, and then the next night we talked about it. And it's going to be one of those scenarios for me early in the season here where I'm just going to bring that up as part of my pregame with my, some of the crews that I'm working with, especially if it's crews of officials that are, newer to working in the leagues or just been working in the leagues for a couple of years. I think it's a great learning tool for everybody. I mean, if we can pass along that knowledge and be that mentor, to the people that are fairly new to working collegiate basketball, I think it's a great way of looking at
it. And I challenge all the newer officials out there, just because you're talking in the locker room with Nick or myself or whatever it is, and we tell you this is the rule, don't take that as gospel. Open up your rule book and read it for yourself. Because what will happen is you'll go before that rule and you go after that rule, and next thing you know, you've read 2 or 3 rules all pertaining to that rule, and you're much better at knowing the rules and the rules around that one rule. So I think that's great. So our time's just about up here, but I want to say this to everybody who's listening. Nick has been working 35 years, 36 years?
Yeah, 35 years. Yeah, that's my
35 years. And still, to this day, goes in the rule book at halftime or after his game and confirms rules. He doesn't just assume that he knows it all. I've been doing this for 35 years. Leave me alone. I know what I'm doing. Nick is still changing with the changes. And I think that's great. And I challenge any younger official or even maybe some veteran officials are out there that are sitting at home. Chances are if you're watching this video, you're trying to be better anyway. But if you don't sit at home and go, well, I'm going to watch TV show, and I'm not going to get better watching a TV show. Nick is not doing that. And that's, I believe, one of the great reasons that you have such success in the NCAA and the successes you had in your high school career, and be able to work 35 years and still continuing. The end is not near by any means, so you're still going strong. So I commend you for that, Nick, and I hope that people that work with you get that same feeling from you. So and take your practices and put it into their game. So thanks a lot. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, thank you. I appreciate the compliment. And, if there was just one thing that I would add to that, it's just, like you said, people need to ask questions. And, I look at it as I'm learning every time I go out on the floor. If I don't learn something new, whether it be, a better way to get an angle on a play, or whether it be something that has to do with the rule book, or whether it's dealing with players or coaches or whatever it happens to be, then, then at that point in my career, then it's time for me to start thinking, okay, maybe this is the downside and I'm done,
Right.
So, but I feel, energized every year at the start, and we got lots of stuff going on all season long. I mean, we have long seasons, but it's great to see and to try to continue to get better during the season and continue to make, each year more successful than the last one. So
awesome. Very cool. So, all right, well, we're going to take off. Nick, I do appreciate your time. I know that you've got a busy weekend, this whole weekend, and I appreciate you just taking 35 minutes here out of your day and spending some time with the YouTube visitors. So,
you bet, Jeff.
Again, if you have any questions, please email me at jeffcross22@gmail.com. And if you're going to email Nick, you're going to email him at
nlocicero, LOCICERO 31@gmail.com.
That is a mouthful. All right, Nick, we'll talk to you soon. I appreciate the time, man. Have a good one.
All right. Thanks, Jeff.